Attention Austin musicians and music industry professionals. Austin Music Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to strengthening and connecting the local music community with innovative programs that empower musicians, music industry professionals, and Austin music businesses within Austin's creative economy. Ever since the coronavirus has arrived and we've done social distancing and the office has been closed, Austin Music Foundation has found a way to still provide all of its services online. You can go there and get consultations online. You can have all your questions answered. Just go to austinmusicfoundation.org, all right? Hang in there.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny, I'm your host. Welcome to the show. How are you? I hope you had a good Easter weekend, good Friday, that whole thing. I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and I hope you're sane. Sane seems to be the one thing that's difficult to be these days, you know? Starting to lose it a little bit. I know friends of mine are starting to lose it. I find that when I don't have shit to do all day, I don't give myself shit to do all day, and I don't connect with people throughout the day on the phone or video chatting or something, that I start to get a little dark, start going a little dark, start trying to figure out what all of this means to the rest of all of our lives, to my life in particular, to everyone's lives. What's going to happen? Am I ever going to play a gig again? When is that going to happen? Is there going to be a vaccine? How bad is this going to get? So much loss of life, man. It's very sad. That's very sad, man. There have been so many people that have died. If you know someone or you lost someone, lost some great musicians throughout this. John Prine died last week. That was really sad. Bill Withers, Adam Schlesinger. A lot of people. It's been really sad. Anyway, so yeah, I find that when I don't have something to do or I'm connecting with people, that my mind goes to a dark place. So I'm keeping as busy as possible, doing 3 podcasts a week. I've got a weekly live stream show. I'm trying to write songs. Austin Music Foundation, we're back together working on the artist development program for 2020. But it's interesting, man. What's all this stuff going to look like, When are we all going to get together again? That's the main question. It's funny because I find people asking that question to just like anybody. I've gotten asked it by people like I know something. Like, what the hell do I even know? Like, people are like, hey, so when do you think we'll be able to go back to normal? I'm like, you're asking like the keyboard player Skyrocket? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I hope that's soon. And I just asked it too. Like, you just want someone to be like, oh, it's just going to be a couple more weeks and we'll all be fine. Wouldn't that be nice if someone just said that? So until then, I'm trying to keep myself busy, dropping 3 podcasts a week, doing a weekly live stream, Austin Music Foundation stuff. Just basically like I'm, trying to connect with as many people as possible I can during the day. Friends of mine I haven't talked to in a long time, I'll reach out and be like, hey, what's going on? And of course, doing this podcast, talking to the people when I do this podcast is great. I'm connecting with people, and now, it doesn't really matter. Now that I'm doing them all on Skype and Facebook Messenger video chat, now that I'm video chatting and they don't have to be here, I can talk to people from all over. And today, I am talking to Houston singer-songwriter Trish Cramblet. She is amazing. She's an amazing, amazing songwriter. You can find her at trishcrambletmusic.com. She has a brand new album out that came out like a month and a half or 2 months ago called The Margins. Amazing record. She also has a record from 2018 called Ain't Your Angel. I cannot stress what a great songwriter she is. And while she falls under the singer-songwriter banner, she has her record's very, very interestingly produced. It's more of like a John Bryan slant on production than like just a straight up, you know what I mean? Like singer-songwriter. It's not there. It's exciting. That's what I'm trying to say. Sonically, it's exciting. Her lyrics are amazing. The stories she tells in the songs are amazing. And her life story is amazing. She was born in Oklahoma. She moved to Houston to go to school, to go to art school. She ended up living there. She was part of the scene. Apparently, we knew each other back then, like loosely. We were in the same scene. I worked at this little coffee shop in Whole Foods. She used to come in there and get it. My band used to play at Fitzgerald. She used to go there. We probably hung out around a lot of the same people. But she ended up getting married and having a child, and she didn't come to music until just the last, 10 or 15 years, started, picking it up, writing songs, and she put out a record called Ain't Your Angel in 2018, and she put out this gorgeous record, The Margins, in 2020. And it turns out she is just, I was floored when I heard this stuff. It was really great. She's always seemed like a really nice person, and I read this great article about her record in the Houston Chronicle that was written by Andrew Dansby, a guy that I also kind of know, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And he was a fan, so I was like, well, shit, man. I checked out the album back then. I loved it. So here we are. This is me talking to singer-songwriter Trish Cramblet from Houston, Texas. Enjoy it. Let's get down.
She never met a stranger, but she was always alone. Born and raised in the same place, but she never felt at home. Said I didn't choose my family, and I don't trust my friends. I'm gonna keep on driving.
Cry about it too much.
But you work from home, right?
I do work from home. Yeah. I work from home, but it's usually, work is slowed down. And so, because...
What is it that you do? Do you mind talking about it?
Oh, sure, that's fine. Sorry, I'm taking an Allegra.
Yeah, I keep waking, Oak is really high right now.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking there was 3 days this week that I woke up and I was like, my throat's itchy. I've got the thing.
I know.
Yeah.
I had a fever this week, and I never had fevers, and I got pretty weirded out, and I posted something on Instagram that I shouldn't have posted, which was my temperature. And then got a lot of attention for something I didn't have, and I felt like a complete jerk.
Were you able to parlay that into some spins on Spotify or something?
That's a good idea. Yeah, I'm going to die. My music, listen to it now. I was not, actually. I just had a lot of people taking the time to ask me how I was, and I felt like a total heel for
right.
saying anything, because it was definitely allergies or something.
Okay, so sorry, what do you do?
I'm an illustrator and graphic designer.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's kept a roof over my head.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I actually moved to Houston to go to the Art Institute, and that's how I ended up in Houston.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you got a long story. Let's talk a little bit about the Margins before we get into your whole life. Upon spending a great deal of time listening to this music, I felt then compelled this week to continue listening to it, because you are an exceptional songwriter. You're like this high. You're up there.
Well, that means a lot coming from you.
I was blown away. Then this weird thing happened this morning. I was making my notes and I'm listening to the album, and I'm kind of going through your Instagram. I saw that 99.9
right.
thermometer.
That was my
reading
mistake.
thing.
Yes.
I didn't read anything on it. I was just kind of cruising through and seeing it. And the song "Pale Blue Eyes" came on. And I'd heard it a few times, and then I started it over because the opening line, she never met a stranger, but she was always alone, born and raised in the same place, but she never felt at home. Now, I wrote that down. I took a minute and wrote that down. So then an hour later, after I had listened to both of your albums and kind of gone through your stuff, I was like, I should go back and read that Andrew Dansby article that came out.
Can you believe that?
He literally took the exact same thing out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess that's that opening line is a very defining sort of lyrical point for that record. Do you feel like that? Is that you? Is that so painful because that comes from you? Or
it's weird, Johnny. I don't know. I don't know. With the songwriting stuff, I don't know where a lot of stuff comes from. I don't know about you, but if I start putting a couple of chord progressions together, a melody comes, and then some words come, and then the song slowly writes itself.
Yeah.
I would say that is me. I didn't think that. I mean, I wasn't writing about myself when I was writing that song, but when I examine, and I wasn't born and raised in the same town, but I lived in one town in rural Oklahoma for a while, and I definitely fit in, but I did what I had to fit in, you know. And there are good people there and everything. I don't want to bash anybody there, but yeah, I guess that is me when it comes down to it. I'm a total loner, but I like people. I just kind of enjoy my solitude.
Yeah. Are you an adapter like that? Like you're saying, like
yes, 100%.
Right. Whatever
Yeah.
situation it like. I read this thing. I don't even know when I read it, but it's sometime during the quarantine, and it was about Bono, and it was somebody else talking about Bono who's friends with Bono, and was like, that guy can be anything to anyone that he needs to be, because there's something in him innately that acclimates to his situation for survival in some way. Is that
Yeah.
weird? Yeah.
No, I don't think that's weird at all. I mean, I think there's a fine line between empathy and manipulation.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when you can empathize with people and you kind of maybe get inside their headspace a little bit, you have to be careful, too, not to charm them in a way that benefits you. Do you know what I mean?
That's hard not to do in our position, because that's basically our job.
Absolutely.
As
That's
front
the thing.
people selling the thing to the people, you are being like odd.
Absolutely. You know, and I people come up after shows and stuff and say really nice things, and people think I'm being humble, but it's just like, you know, I wrote a song and I sang a song, and I appreciate stuff, but I don't want to get too into the praise. You know what I mean, too. That's kind of a side thing. It's just, yeah. I don't. Maybe I'm not making any sense.
No,
at this
no,
point.
no. I know what you're saying, because I feel like since you came to this sort of like performance thing kind of later.
Well, I mean, I did it early on. I just couldn't do it for years.
Right. What I'm saying is that as we get older, I know what you mean. For me, at a time in my life, the praise was all I wanted, really.
Yeah.
And then at some point that switches, and your ability to create and like the journey that you're on is what's the most gratifying thing, and kind of everything else becomes, because, you know, after a while you hear, I don't know if you have, but I've heard, you know, bad things as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's weird, I think, too, you know, coming to this, you know, starting to record really late in life.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, it would have really gotten to me if people didn't like my stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I think it would have been really hard, but there are people that I care about. I mean, it means a lot to me that you like this stuff, because I respect you, and you know, you've been doing this for years. But if there's a harsh review or whatever, I know what I'm writing is me, and it's what comes out of me genuinely, and that's all I can do, right? And if you don't like it, you don't like it. You know what I mean? So I think when I was younger, I would have probably tried to write, to be successful, and now what comes out of me just it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. On this record, there's a definite like live feel to the recording. Was that
Really?
Was it done live?
No, but so Paul Beebe recorded the album. You know Paul?
Is
Paul
he
Beebe?
related to David?
He is, yeah. He's his
Okay,
brother, and
okay.
he has a recording studio here called BB Gun Studio, and he's Paul's great. He can play everything, and you know he's in several bands himself. But you know, when I went in to record the first album, you know, I'd never recorded before, and it was pretty intimidating. And I had all these songs I'd written, and I didn't really know if they were any good. And he's chill. He made the whole experience very fun. But anyway, they are not live. They're recording in his studio. But he and I talked about what we wanted before we started, and I definitely didn't want something super polished. I wanted something that felt a little bit raw and a little bit 70s. So there's things he uses some old equipment and stuff like that. So I definitely think he gets a certain vibe, but no, not live.
Okay. Wow. Because it's very it feels very organic. It feels like you might have come in and had like a crack group of musicians, and like those kind of sessions where the songwriter sits down and plays the song for the band. Everyone kind of makes their own little chart and kind of comes up with their own little trip for the song real quick, and then goes and records it, because everything feels very reactionary. Even like the drums and the percussion feel like they're really in. It feels like it's in the moment with you, but Paul did a great job of faking that.
Well, I think to a certain extent what you're describing is what happens, because I have a band that I play live with, but other than Dave, who's my boyfriend, who can't actually play right now because he has focal dystonia, Paul and I and Dave put the songs together in the studio. So I go in with a skeleton and basic chords, and I'll have some ideas about instrumentation and parts, but I'm not really somebody that's going to go in and have a drum part in mind. And Paul pulls a lot of stuff.
Oh, that's him?
Out.
Did he also do like that percussion and stuff that's on there?
There's a couple of other people that play percussion, but
okay.
Paul plays almost everything.
He's fucking awesome. I'm sorry that he's not able to play right now. That's terrible.
Oh, no, that's Dave.
Oh, Dave.
Okay,
sorry.
Dave,
Paul.
Dave,
Sorry.
Dave is awesome. So when you hear some guitar parts.
Okay. The guitar parts are brilliant. Like I felt like there's a thing. What you're doing is could be construed as Americana.
That's the umbrella that I am under.
Sure,
yes.
But like right now, who knows? I've seen a band like that uses like two Casios and a xylophone, and they're calling themselves Americana. You know what I mean? Like right now, that umbrella is pretty huge. It's like a tent at this point.
Well, I went to that Americana festival. It's a folk festival.
The folk festival, yeah. I saw you went to that Folk Alliance.
And Folk Alliance, yeah. And I was blown away at the variety of bands. But it was super cool. And it's nice to know, I mean, at the end of the day, I think labels are almost over. There's so much fusion. And
like labels of music, not record labels.
Genres.
Right,
yeah. I'm sorry, genres. But anyway, I have been described as Americana. And I'm, Jenny Finlay is the one that's working my album. And she's with Americana charts and stuff, So.
How do I know Jenny Finlay? I know her. Is she here? Is she in Austin?
Yeah. Jenny Finlay promotion. She's James McMurtry and
I know her.
Mary Gauthier and
it's Gaucher.
Matt. I never say
I know.
No.
I've gotten corrected many times, and that's why
I've already been corrected, and I'm still getting it wrong. Who's the other? Oh, you know Matt Harlan, right?
No.
Do you know Matt Harlan?
No,
okay,
but I saw he said something nice about you.
He did? On my website?
Yeah.
Okay, Johnny, guess what?
What?
You got to listen to some Matt Harlan.
Okay, I'll write it down, Matt Harlan.
Yeah. So Matt Harlan's Houston. I really talk about good songwriters. Holy shit, that guy's amazing. And a real sweet person. Good person. So Anyway, so
sorry. I felt like there was a lot of sounds, maybe some keyboard stuff that happened, and really the guitar also to me really gave it a unique slant in that Americana thing. Plus, you don't write songs like you're leaving San Antonio and you're going to this place.
Right. Yeah. Surprisingly, I don't listen to that stuff. I mean, not that I don't like it. It's
no, I know what you mean.
When I started writing, and that's the stuff I was writing was coming out of me, it still felt a little too Southern, more than what I wanted. But I had to just kind of go, that's who I am, and that's what's happening. But Dave's guitar stuff is what, he's my Nels Klein.
Yeah, that's a very good, great description, because he's a very unique guitar player that kind of defies description.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he comes up, Paul played some of the stuff on some of the tracks, but I think the stuff that is kind of weird and different is definitely Dave's stuff. And that's what I love. I love to have this weird spin on it that it's definitely not boilerplate. And he comes up with parts, and he usually wants to show me several, and the first one, I'm like, I don't want to see anything else. I love that one. So I'm super lucky. I'm super lucky to have him playing. Yeah. I'm super lucky to have both those guys, right? Yeah. So,
have you? Do you have any sort of avenue to get these songs to like music placement people?
Well, the only, Jenny Finlay is the person that's working this record, and she's sending it to radio stations, and that's really the only thing other than, just getting it on iTunes and stuff. Right. I always wonder, like, at this time, like, where do you think this record fits in on radio? Like, do you know these radio stations that play music like this? This sounds like college or like the KPFT.
KPFTs or like the NPRs, kind of like, Maybe, yeah. It's so hard to say with radio nowadays. I mean, we have such awful radio in Houston at this point that I couldn't even tell you what radio station would play this other than KPFT. Yeah, and Yeah. My good pal Jeffrey Thames, who had I'm drawing a blank on his show's name. It was there for years. I don't know. He's a great guy, but I saw his show just ended. Like, that's it. It's over. He's off KPFT now. For years, he was on there.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, it's crazy. What about, are you doing anything, taking any of the streaming avenue, like the playlist things? Like, I know a lot of people, instead of getting radio people, now they're getting these people that get you on playlists.
That's, to be honest with you, that was my latest little thing, was when I started seeing a lot of my friends who are musicians in Houston, who are professional musicians, and this is just really going to slam them hard, I put together a Houston Americana playlist. I saw you did that, yeah. And I was really, people kind of halfway pay attention to that stuff, and what I was really trying to do is just get people to play the fuck out of it. Yeah. Just to play it and play it and play it, because,
are they coming to get you? In the background?
My last meal! Lasagna!
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry about that. When I was at the Folk Alliance conference, and I went into a panel discussion, and it was iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, a couple of others. And, to be honest with you, after watching this discussion, I realized just how much artists get screwed, period, at this point. And they both basically said, don't expect to make any money off recorded music anymore.
That's right.
And, but there was a lot of talk about streaming. And, of course, I had to take it into account that while I'm listening to them have this discussion and telling us what to do, that they are going to tell us what is beneficial to the streaming services. They're not going to be giving us a lot of, you know what I'm saying? But anyway,
when the streaming services are addressing you, they're definitely helping themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't give a shit about us.
Yeah, let me tell you how to beat the system.
Exactly. So anyway, long story short is I thought I might be able to get people's numbers up. And then basically I wanted people in Houston. This is not a big music town.
No, it's not.
We've got some pretty hardy talent here, but it's hard to get folks out to shows that start at 10 o'clock, yada, yada, yada. But I wanted to get different artists in front of different people, fully drive up maybe sales.
Right.
You okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry, I accidentally unplugged the thing for a second.
That's okay.
Dummy. You're trying to drive up the spins and stuff like that?
Yeah, and in hopes of maybe getting some of these artists on other playlists where they might get more exposure and maybe get on a TV show, or, that's how it all works, I guess.
I think they should do that with you. I didn't hear the other people. I'm sure they're good, but I think that you're really. I don't know. I don't know.
Thanks. I really appreciate that, Johnny.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really moved by your writing is just really superb. And
Wow.
I was talking to my aunt about it this morning on the phone. So I was telling her I had a podcast with you. She lives in Houston. And I was like, oh, you should check her out. Maybe go see her because, I sent her a link to the album. I'm sure she's gonna like it. And it's not my aunt isn't like your aunt. She's like a cool those guys took me to see Dylan and stuff when I was a little kid.
Oh,
So,
I know those
yeah.
kind of aunts.
Yeah. Like a cool weed smoking aunt.
That's right.
She's gonna kill me for saying that, but you know what I mean.
Nobody cares at this point.
Yeah, that's one of the things about they put up a thing earlier this week when they did the shelter at home thing here in Austin, and they're like, hey man, like here's some things you don't have to worry about anymore. Don't worry about weed possession, man. No one's coming after you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even in Houston, strangely, if you get caught with a certain amount, they can't do anything, and I think that's so smart. It wastes resources.
Isn't it funny how disparate the differences are between Houston and Austin, and Houston and Dallas?
Yes.
And said like these are 4 cities that are, and then if you bring in the other ones like Lubbock and like there's they're all just so incredibly different.
Well, I mean, we're Europe, right? We're a little Europe. I feel like
Texas
is a little Europe. Yeah. When you think about every single country in Europe having its very own, very strong identity.
Yeah.
And of course, they could. I can't remember what the square miles are, but I think you could fit Europe in Texas.
I think so.
So in some ways, I kind of feel like, it makes sense. My son went to school up in Dallas, and man, he absolutely hated it. It was, and I don't want to say anything bad about anybody living in Dallas because I don't know that much about it, but I always think about Houston as being somewhat statusy, and Dallas.
Oh yeah,
is that
Dallas
space,
is like
right?
the Miami of Texas.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Austin is. I don't know what's happening with the tech situation over there, but I do know that it was an oasis for me for a really long time. I always thought I'd end up in Austin. Oh yeah, I was really in love with Austin for years, but I know that things have changed a bit over there.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, but I still love Austin.
Yeah. So all right. So you were playing shows with your band Trish, Cramblet, and the Bad Habits.
Yes.
But those guys didn't really play on the records.
Oh, right.
Okay.
They mostly, when Dave was playing, he was really the only one that was on the records and stuff. However, I will say this: there's I don't know if you've ever heard of Willie T. Golden.
Nope.
He's lap steel, and
I saw your photo of him. Yeah.
He's lovely and incredibly talented, and he plays with me now when he can.
Okay.
So he is now somewhat of a band member.
Okay.
In that, if he's available, I grab him.
All right, so let's get. You're from Oklahoma.
Sorta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this because I was just reading this book as well. This Kathy Valentine has this book coming out, her memoir, and I thought it was fascinating. Her mom is English and her dad was from Lubbock, and her mom moved from like London to Lubbock in the 50s.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what
Yeah.
a culture? And your mom came from England?
Yeah, they lived right outside London. I mean, it's called London, but it's not like downtown London. And moved to rural Oklahoma. But I will say this, it was back when oil and gas were, and these rural towns they weren't what they are now. You know how it is. You can drive through any small town at this point, and you see some of these buildings are just fantastic.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It was a small town, but there was some culture at that point. But also, my mom was British, and she was super gorgeous, my mom. And so she was like a little celebrity. I think she enjoyed that to a certain extent.
It's the same thing with Kathy's mom in that book. Like she made friends easily and was kind of like celebrated because in 1957,
right.
There's no English people hanging out in Lubbock or
Right.
English people. What was the small town in Oklahoma?
So it's a tiny town called Holdenville, and there's family connections there. My grandmother and grandfather lived there. He was a small country doctor, and we lived there. I was born there.
What did your dad do? He was in oil?
No, my dad was an aeronautical engineer.
Wow.
And so we didn't really live in a place very long. So until I was in high school. So we moved all over the country every year, and sometimes twice a year, until I got to junior high. And we had been living out in California, and there were so many drugs. My brother was in junior high, and the drugs were so bad that my parents put him in a private school, and then my dad said,
even
you know
worse
what?
there. Those
Well, it
kids
wasn't
have all
so-
the... Oh, was it?
Well, that's true. That's
I mean,
true.
yeah.
But in this particular case, it wasn't. We were living in Chula Vista, and so anyway, they planted us in rural Oklahoma while my dad worked away from home, and so we saw all over the country. We lived in England a couple of times because my mother would get homesick. She would leave my dad. She would go take us all back to England and live with her mom and dad for a little while, that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit crazy.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I only have one brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was tumultuous, probably, growing up, a little shell-shocked.
It was a little weird.
Yeah.
I definitely had an anxiety attack the night before the first day of school at every new place, like all-night anxiety attack. Because, kids are horrible. It was like a hazing.
Yeah.
There was always a hazing.
Yeah.
So we ended up in Oklahoma, and, there were great aspects of it. I could run wild. Of course, we were all running wild in the 70s anyway, right? I mean, it wasn't like...
Yeah, it was a very different time. I mean, I'm 51, and I that time of
I'm 55.
dogs ran around the neighborhood. You know what? Everything was just freedom.
Right.
It was
And it's like, if you get hit by a car,
Yeah, you went outside until dark.
Absolutely. So we did that, but it was that way everywhere. And so there were things that were really great about it. I'd say there were aspects of my education that were not great. But a weird thing about that town is how many musicians came out of that little population 7,000 little town in Oklahoma. One of my former classmates went to Juilliard and is now a conductor at the Opera in New York.
Jesus.
I mean, like some serious shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of them ended up being music teachers. It's kind of uncanny. We had an amazing music program. And
were you part of it?
I was in the vocal stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I'd been in the...
choir?
Yeah, I did a lot of choir. We did a performance band I was in.
What did you sing? Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company C and shit like that? Or was it, cooler?
We had some of that, which is, really great when you're doing 4-part harmonies.
Sure.
And you're learning some of that stuff. But we also did, the little performance band, did some contemporary stuff. I sang some Stevie Nicks and Olivia Newton-John and that kind of crap. But the band was really pretty astounding when I look back on it. But so that, I always liked to sing. When we lived in California, I would sit on the playground at lunchtime and sing, and some of the kids would sit around and give me requests. I was in 5th grade then. Of course, that drew the ire of other kids also.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, you got to have several haters in there. So I loved singing, and so yeah, I was in all kinds of music stuff all through high school and junior high, and my music teacher was kind of a bitch, and I ended up kind of gravitating toward the visual arts stuff more because of that, and that's when I moved down here. And
did you have a dream of what you wanted to be when you grew up, whatever that means?
I was raised to be a mother and a wife. That's what I was raised to be.
Find a good guy, go to school, maybe meet a guy there.
Well, I mean, my mom, my dad was determined that I would have a college education, but my mom said to me one time, I don't know why we're wasting all this money here, because you're just going to end up getting married and having babies. And that was enough for me to know that's probably not what I'm going to do. But yeah, I never really felt like that would be enough because I like to create stuff. But man, the music bug never left me. It was always trying, eating at me. And I did when I first got to Houston. And I started going to art school, and I just immediately met a bunch of people in bands, like Fat Motion, and Cinco Dudes, all those guys.
Yeah,
right?
that's a sort of 80s, late 80s, early 90s bands.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
You were part of
I was part
all
of
that.
Yeah, I was
You're
in
Panjandrum.
Panjandrum.
Yeah.
I was the singer of Panjandrum.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I mean, I remember you. You were just the cutest little boy ever.
That is so sweet. I always, like, when someone remembers that band, this wave of shame comes over me because to me that band was so embarrassing.
No, you know what?
We did very well. Yeah.
Oh, you did do very well. And I mean, I think the fact that anybody gets out there at that age and is, I mean, that's some heavy duty vulnerability to be just jumping around on stage.
Fuck yeah. Can I tell you what happened, how that band came to be? And I don't know if I've ever really told this on the podcast, but this is a real thing. Like, I made a choice. The kind of music that I make and I write is the kind of music basically that I make and I write. I go different places, but you can still kind of tell it's me. There's chords, there's singing. That band wasn't about songs. It was about this kind of like frenetic dancing, kind of weird white guy funk thing. And the problem was there was a lot of people that I knew musically that were like, you're this like Beatles guy that sits around listening to the Partridge Family, and this is your band? And like my favorite band was the Bodines at the time. And like, that's what I was into, but I went to like rock and roll kind of New Sincerity Americana shows or like, just regular rock and roll. And there was a lot of dudes in the audience and everyone was just there. Then I'd go see bands like Bad Mother Goose and Sprawl and all these other bands that were funky. And there was girls literally only wearing like bikini tops. As the thing, and I was like, I'm gonna pivot here, and I was young. I was like, 20 when I started that band, and I was like, I want to meet a lot of girls, and so that band literally was a vehicle for me to meet girls. Okay, so anyway, back in the, I
think that more bands than not. People in that age bracket are exactly that, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really start playing out in Houston back then because I was embarrassed about what was coming out of me. I didn't think it was cool enough because I was hanging out with the Fab Motions and all these bands, and my stuff didn't sound anything like that.
Did you? Sorry, real quick. Didn't Darren? No, Darren didn't play him. He did. Did he play in Fab Motion? No.
Darren
Murphy?
No. Mm-mm. No, that was Moby and Todd Leger and Greg DeLita.
I remember
and Greg Mauser.
Yeah,
those guys.
Okay, so who else did you see back then? This is great, bringing back great memories.
Tin Hands.
Oh, yeah.
Tin Hands. Sprawl was local, so I saw a lot of Sprawl. I basically lived at Zelda's and Fitzgerald's upstairs.
Yeah.
Do you know Tony Romano?
Yeah.
Okay. So I also played Ultimate Frisbee back then. And I hung out with those folks. And I mean, all we did was play Frisbee and go see live music. So it was there. I'm sure that there are bands that I saw that I didn't even realize at the time that ended up. I mean, I know I saw Soundgarden before they were anything.
Right. Yeah. I remember they did a Louder Than Bombs show there.
Yeah. On X and so I saw a lot of stuff. But a lot of times, to be honest with you, I was goofing off with friends and not paying attention to the music necessarily. But I knew that I wanted to do it. I knew that there were some confidence issues about not really knowing if my stuff was any good. I was learning to play guitar back then, so I wasn't playing well enough to write very much myself. And then, out of left field, I ended up getting married and having a baby, and that kind of put the kibosh on everything. So
then you went with the job with the trajectory you were originally on. Get married, have a kid. Did you still work?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I worked. I had to have some level of independence, and then the marriage lasted 5 years. So I got divorced when my kid was 2.5 years old. And so at that point, making music was going to be a luxury. And I got together with different people and did a few different things, but it never really materialized into anything. And not until my son was in junior high did I start taking guitar lessons again.
Okay.
And that's when I started kind of revving up. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to perform something. I didn't know it was going to be original music. But I've, you've probably always written poetry and stuff, right? I've always written lyrics.
Yeah.
As long as I remember, even when I was a kid, I would write lyrics.
When I was a kid too, like when I'd play, I had theme songs for what I was doing that I made up too. Like
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know if I had that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, music was always it was always a thing. And, I'm 55. You're 51. We grew up in a time when, the radio stations were fantastic. So I feel like if you were into music at all, you were just steeping in goodness all the time growing up.
Here's my theory on that.
Okay.
And I have made this what's going to end up being one of my theses at the end of this podcast, whenever that happens, the end of the life of this whole thing, is that I'm going to know that everybody thinks the best music that was ever made was whatever music was coming out when they were 12 or 9 or 10 to like 22.
Yeah, you're right.
When you hear a song that is saying how you feel, and you're discovering these feelings, and then you're connecting with this music. I feel like I really should write a thesis about that, because
there is
I really
scientific data to support that, Johnny.
Yeah,
actually.
there is.
Yeah, there is. My son told me about it. Yeah, that when your brain is forming, and it's just kind of like when you're a baby, and black and white, high contrast, and loud noises and pitches. And as we get older, our brains are tuned into different things. And so, you're right.
You're
However,
also experiencing those first real emotions of love or rejection or
Absolutely.
not being able to fit in, and that music is always speaking to those people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember, if a boy didn't like me at school, I'd sit around listening to Eric Carmen. When I was in junior high, all by myself.
I'm a
You
huge
knew how it felt, man.
I'm a huge Eric Carmen fan, and I'm a huge Raspberries fan.
Yeah.
Have you followed that guy on Twitter?
No.
He is an insane Trump supporter, and he's really, really, really cruel to people who are not. It's shocking. I haven't stopped following him because I still can't believe when I read. I'm like, Eric, that's what Eric Carmen's like? Fuck, that's so mean. Yeah, he's super mean. Super mean.
I almost wish I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's real weird. I almost wish I didn't know it, but now I'm totally obsessed with it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of watching somebody's mental health deteriorate rapidly, right? And they're doing it real time in front of the world.
Yeah.
Just being hateful.
Yeah.
Like that is, I don't know. Hey, what are you trying to do?
I don't know. Hey, can I tell you another thing that occurred to me when I was listening to your music?
Yes.
You sing in a very mature way, in that you can tell that you are able to do vocal gymnastics that you refrain from doing. You're not like a show-off singer. You know what I'm saying? You're not on American Idol or something, like that kind of singer. I feel like you could do it because your voice has a huge range, but you use it in the best way possible.
Well, I appreciate that, because I actually sometimes feel when I'm performing live that maybe I let myself go too much and I oversing. So I appreciate you saying that.
I bet that could happen live. I mean, yeah.
Sometimes I get really into it and things go. I'm not doing the whoa kind of stuff or anything, but I might let my hair down and.
Well, to me, that's something you should be able to do live. Add a little extra.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. I'm just being myself, but I do appreciate that, because it's something I'm always worried about.
I get that from you. You are very authentically yourself.
I hope to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you first started playing, did you play like open mics?
What was pretty interesting, I started taking lessons from the man that I'm with now, David Payne.
Uh-huh.
And he had every month a jam at a bar, like a really, really shitty dive bar. Back when you were still allowed to smoke cigarettes in the, in the bars.
Yeah.
So once a month I would get terrible bronchitis because I would go to these jams. And so it was really nice for me. I had such a terrible case of stage fright and just no confidence about getting up in front of a crowd. And this was a really nice way for me to start breaking that down in front of people that I knew and were not going to be too harsh. And I think that was, I definitely think that's why I ended up being able to start writing, recording, and performing. It just kind of broke the seal on my fright, my stage fright and stuff. And but it was weird. As soon as I started playing guitar, learning how to play, I'm not a very good guitar player because all I want to do is write songs on it. I'll do some. He gives me different drills and stuff to do, and I'll hear two chords together. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And then I kind of get distracted and go off on something. So yeah. I wish I was a better guitar player. I do work on it, but it was always about writing songs for me, I gotta say. And I started writing immediately. As soon as I started taking guitar lessons, the songs just started happening.
Are there any of those that stuck around? Because, did any of those make it onto Ain't Your Angel or something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Ain't Your Angel is one of the first songs. And I was actually learning a Ricky Lee Jones song, and there's just like two notes, and that turned into Ain't Your Angel. And, of course, I revised stuff over the years until it finally became what it is. Hurricane was one of the first songs I ever wrote. Trying to think what else. Actually, there's a song on Blind Man, which is on Margins, and it's one of the first songs I wrote, but I completely revamped it from the original. But, the lyrics are there, and then I just kind of find a different home for the lyrics and in a different melody.
Are you a diligent writer? Like, are you a wake up in the morning, like have a process? No. I feel like if I do that, I'm going to force it. And I write a lot if I'm driving. I wrote 2 songs driving to Austin a couple years ago because I was alone and I can just turn everything off, and it's when I can really think. But I may lay in bed and I just kind of let stuff stew until the right stuff comes along. But I feel like if I'm going to sit and force it, I just kind of have to let it come. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And luckily, I'm not on a big timetable where I have to push stuff.
Right.
So, and something too I found, and I know you probably have done this, is there's been times where I've tried to write good lyrics, and it's like, don't try to write a good lyric. What are you feeling? Yeah. What did you feel at that time? Or what, if that was you, what would you feel like? And if I try to really get in that headspace of being that person or remembering where I was, it all comes naturally, and that I don't want to ever try, I don't go to songwriter workshops, or I try not to listen a lot to Townes Van Zandt and people who are royalty, because I don't want to ever borrow, intentionally borrow something. I want it. I listen to Radiohead and Soundgarden and stuff like that. I try to stay away from my own genre so that I can be authentic.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Although when I went to the Folk Alliance, I saw some amazing artists, and I'd already been a fan of the Mastersons. I love them, and
I just had them on.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I know. I was excited. And Nicolette Good, who I saw.
Yeah, she was on too.
I love her. Yeah. Man, she really. To me, she she was probably one of the best, or she was one of the best people I saw at Folk Alliance. I thought she was terrific.
Wow. Do you know any of these people? Like, do you ever write songs with any of these people?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't know any of the Austin artists really, except you know, and I kind of know you from back in the day, but.
You don't know any people here?
I mean,
I'm going to fix that because, like, you should. I mean, I feel like if you wanted to, and I feel like as a songwriter too, like there's people out there that would be like, shit, I'd write a song with that lady.
Yeah.
In a second. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm open to anything. You know, this whole. You asked me earlier what my dream was, and with this particular endeavor, when I started playing music again, it's kind of nice because I started late, because I don't really have a goal.
Yeah.
I'm just writing, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of cool people, and it's just it's changed my life for the better, and just the folks I've met, because I think I get along well with musicians, you know.
Yeah.
I get along with art, like visual artists, but I also am finding that musicians really are my people.
Yeah.
I'm open.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a lot of people I know, like people that I've collaborated with and worked with. Do you know Kimmy Rhodes?
No.
I feel like she would really love your stuff. My friend Scrappy, Judd Newcomb, you know that guy?
No.
He's amazing. He produced my last record. He did that last Slade Cleaves record. Do you know Jeff Plankenhorn?
I know that name.
They played together at that Folk Alliance thing that you went to.
Okay. I might have seen them, and I'm not even putting two and two together.
You would have remembered them because they're just
Incredible.
personality-wise, they're hilarious,
Okay.
and they're just fucking amazing musicians.
God, that name sounds really familiar. I'm wondering. Anyway, I've probably seen him listed in the music.
Yeah.
In the shows over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know a couple of people. I don't know them. Betty Sue.
Yeah,
I've seen.
Betty Sue. She's cool. She's from Houston.
Oh, is she? Okay,
Yeah.
so she's good friends with Matt Harlan, and trying to think. Nothing else is popping in. I mean, you know, I see. Of course, I know Sarah Hickman.
Yeah.
We have.
Oh yeah, she wrote a thing about you on there.
She did.
Yeah.
She's very kind. She's such a nice person, and I know her a little
She's
bit.
a very kind person.
That's everybody I know just says that she's an angel.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a good word.
really nice things, and so they're different people that I've met briefly, but I'm not like, you know, I don't really know folks in Austin.
Yeah.
So, but I'm open to anything.
I think you would. I think the community would embrace you,
That makes me super happy to
like
hear
the
that.
songwriter cool dudes of town and ladies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Oh, and also met Nicole Wagner at the.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she is great. Yeah,
She's-
has her own thing. I really like that she's very unique, but in a lovely way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about those songwriter kind of like. I have friends that lead these songwriter retreats where you go and write songs with somebody. Like Kevin Welch has one, Ian Moore has one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to diss that in
No, I
any
don't
way,
diss it
shape, or
either.
form. I didn't think you were. I just it's just not. I don't think it's for me. You know.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's like one of those things where like I don't know. Like I remember when I went to when I before I started Panjandrum there, I was going to recording school with the drummer of Panjandrum at ACC over there in Westchester.
Oh,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? They had like
They
a
got a
24
great
track
program.
studio. Yeah, it was a great program.
Yeah.
So I was doing it there, and I can't remember what I was about to say. Jesus, it keeps on happening to me.
I know, me too.
I think it's because I'm sitting at home alone a lot.
Do you?
I moderated
You don't-
this panel last night.
Yeah.
And I was about to ask something and I just totally forgot. It was really embarrassing. It was a live stream
Well.
and everything.
I actually think it's because we're in our 50s too, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Anyway.
was what it was. Thank you.
Okay.
I remember after my first year there, then I was looking into the second year stuff, and the guy was like, "Well, you know, you know, after this you'll go and intern at a studio," and I was like, started thinking about it, and I was like, man. Keith Richards didn't go to school to learn Keith Richards shit. Like, he just was Keith Richards and spread it to the
Yeah.
people. And then I
Yeah.
was like, I mean, unfortunately, after 1 year, just kind of like wiped my hands of the thing because I was like, where is this taking me? Like,
Sure.
everything I'm learning there, I'm doing on 4-track when I get home, and then going even further to things that apply to me. And I really don't care about the physics of where the sound comes out of one speaker into the diaphragm of a fucking microphone. Like,
Right.
I like to use the force and like move it till it sounds good. I don't like, you know what I mean?
See, you probably also taught yourself how to play guitar, right?
No, I took lessons, but yeah,
I
I
mean-
also was around a lot of people that, you had great people.
Right. So I think there's two different types of, and I don't want to talk too much about this because it's going to sound like I'm comparing them and one's bad and one's good, but I think there's some people that learn.
By doing.
They go to, well,
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to try to express it. They can't help but do it.
Right.
You're somebody that can't help but
Right.
do it.
You're right.
If there was nobody to ever teach you, you would have figured out how to do
Yeah.
it. And then there are people that will only do anything if they feel like they're formerly instructed.
Right.
And, or, they go to the school and stuff. And I think, like you said, ACC's got an amazing program.
Amazing.
But you would only be getting a piece of paper for something that you were already going to be learning to do. You're figuring out yourself.
Right.
And I kind of feel like the same with, like, people I know, a couple of people I know that go to the songwriters workshops, I don't think lyrics come naturally to them. And so I think the workshops help people figure out a way. Because, God, there's so many people that really come up with some lovely melodies, but maybe not great lyrics. And I think a lot of folks try to figure out how to dig inside them, and they think the workshops are going to help that. And maybe they do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Having never gone, I guess I shouldn't be talking.
Right.
you
Well,
know.
look, I think that also some people have some proclivity to something, and maybe in all of your years of doing art and staying away from performing music and writing music, like guitar and stuff, I'm sure you were still writing your thoughts down. I don't know if you were or not, but
Oh yeah, always.
but
yeah.
but some people, just the song inside them when it comes out is just good. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Patty Griffin is a good example of that.
Right. I
Like,
mean,
she's just good.
just good. You can't help but be good. Yeah.
Some people just come out good.
They do. I mean, some of them are favorite bands of all time. They were friggin' kids.
Yeah.
Right? They were kids when they were writing this stuff.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind. When you think about Pete Townsend, or the
Yeah.
Beatles being the ages they were, and some of the incredibly mature emotional content to some of that stuff.
Right.
And they were really just kids,
Yeah.
So it's in you.
It is.
It's in you. Yeah.
It's interesting. Are you an Eliza Gilkyson fan?
I don't
you know
know
her?
Eliza Gilkyson.
Okay. She's really good. She we just did a thing, and I've known her since she was a friend of my mom's, and
Okay.
I've known her since I was like 13 or something. But
Aw.
I remember getting inside. I remember when Infidels came out from Bob Dylan, and my mom was a huge Bob Dylan fan, so I saw a lot of Dylan and stuff like that. And I remember, I remember this song "Joker Man" and my mom and Mark Hallman,
Yeah.
the producer guy. So
Yeah.
it was like a crew of people. That was my mom's
Oh,
crew
okay.
when we lived
Okay.
here. Was the
Gotcha.
Hallman and Eliza and Christine Albert and
So you were just stewing in all of it from an early age.
yeah, and all those. And by that time, I had already I thought I wanted to be either a musician or an actor, and it was Mark Hallman when I was 13 years old. Was like, I mean, you should do music because if you're an actor and you're all alone somewhere, what are you gonna do? You gonna act? And I was like, I guess you're right. He was like, yeah, music. Like, you're never bored. You can do it when you're by yourself, and chicks love
Yeah.
it. And I was like, sure, man, I'll do that. And
Yeah.
look at me now.
That's very good advice. No, it really
Sometimes
is.
I do text him or call him and tell him I'm very angry with him, like when things are going bad. Like, you are responsible for having put me in this life, and it sucks. And I hate you.
Does
but-
it suck?
No, it's great.
I was going to say, come on.
But you have your days. I mean, I have a really
anything-
cool job, but sometimes I don't want to do it, just like anybody
well,
else.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah.
I mean, some days I don't want to do it in the way of like, I'll complain on the way there, and my mood changes completely when I'm doing it.
When you get
And
there,
yeah.
yeah.
It still
I
lifts
totally-
me. I don't bum out when I'm playing music. I'll bum out because I don't want to be taken out of whatever headspace I'm in at that time and thrown into having to
Right.
be like a performing seal. But then I realize
Yeah.
that what comes to me innately is being a performing seal, and it feels good to do.
Well, you get energy from performing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm going to ask you something that's kind of happened to me lately. I've noticed is I'll get, my adrenaline gets boiling before a show. I'll play the show, and then after, I just sink into depression.
Yeah. That's the
Do you ever have that?
Sure. There's this artist here in town named Jackie Venson. And
Yeah.
she's
Oh my
she's
God,
fantastic.
I love her. Yes.
And there are many very late nights when we're both in different hotel rooms in different cities where she'll go like, is it the sad sandwich hour? Because I'll go pick up a sandwich and just be sitting there watching, like, going between CNN and Fox News because I don't have that in my cable package. So when I
Yeah.
go to hotels, I just kind of like freak out on it and
Right.
see the difference
What's
between
happening?
yeah.
Right.
And eat a sandwich and literally just am just sad. Not always, but there is a sadness. Like you go home alone because there's this miraculous thing, and there's obviously a hole inside of you and a hole inside of me that we think we're gonna fill with the love of so many people that love us and can't live without us. And when we're in that moment, you're feeling all of that love. And then the lights turn on in the place and the people all go home. And you're just
Maybe that's
alone
it.
in your room. Like everybody, like literally 1 hour ago, there were people freaking out about being in the same room as me. And then the lights turned on and they just left. And I'm fucking alone watching a rerun of Sean Hannity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just the Sean Hannity part would make me depressed. But, yeah, I mean, I'm still at the point where I don't have a ton of people coming out to shows. I mean.
Well, even if it's just the people, like just that sort
It
of
is.
like adulation, and they're filling that hole of emptiness.
Absolutely.
That for some
And
reason.
I also think like getting ready to do and wanting to put on a good show, wanting to do a good show, and then you just pour everything into it. And it's kind of, I compared it with like making Christmas dinner. It takes 6 fucking hours to make Christmas dinner, and it's over in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And then everybody's just like, see ya.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it feels like to a certain extent.
Exactly.
It's like, I put a lot into this, and yeah. I get, Charlie Stewart.
No,
The manager, Charlie Stewart?
no.
No?
Who is that?
Okay. He's, well, I'll get into that later.
Right.
Anyway, he said you can't think of it in terms of putting on a great performance. It's just you're doing this because you like it, and the audience is there because they like it, but you can't. I'm not articulating this very well. Essentially, don't try to let that fill you up. And so it's kind of like I'm giving them a gift, and however it turns out, good or bad, we all go home. But yeah, I definitely after shows will go, God, the tempo in this part, and probably put it too much under a microscope to.
Oh yeah.
I should just let it be,
Yeah.
So anyway,
Let it be.
let it be.
Are you a Beatles person?
Oh yeah, I love Beatles.
Did you used to party at Numbers
I
when Bruce
when I
Godwin
first-
was the DJ, and then he owned Record Rack? Remember that era?
I remember Record Rack, yeah. And what was her name?
Who?
Wheezy? No, Tacey. Do you remember Tacey Tajan?
Uh-uh.
Okay. I think they dated for a while. But yeah, I used to go to Numbers. That was kind of
Bruce? No, he didn't date no ladies.
No? Okay.
No.
I'm talking about I do remember Record Rack. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the employee, the guy with the long hair. and
Oh, yeah.
glasses.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce used to sit in the back like all judgy. And like if you were buying
Oh.
the wrong album, or like the wrong
Oh.
extended mix of an Erasure song, he would look at you funny.
I did always feel judged when I went there.
He was like
know
that.
it-
I liked him. I liked him like that.
I think what was hilarious too is Record Rack was one of the first times I'd heard Atheist Hour.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was always playing that in there, and of course I was just like 2 or 3 years out of rural Oklahoma, right? So it was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite an education all the way around.
I'll tell you, I know for a fact he did not like our music, Panjandrum,
Yeah.
but he loved having us around. Because
Oh,
we were
really?
just these like cute young boys.
Oh,
And, like,
exactly.
he was-
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, I bet. God,
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah, he was a nice. I don't know where he is or what's going on. He was a guy that like I wouldn't say I was friends with him, but I was pals with him.
Yeah. No, I think Record Rec
It went under.
still
It does?
it exists again somewhere. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of people being arrested in Houston today, apparently.
I wonder if it's Quinn, same guy that did. Remember the guy that owns Cactus now?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to find out.
That guy's from a great band from that era of Houston music, that late 80s, early 90s. Do you remember a band called Elevator Up?
No.
Oh,
With it, so there's a certain time in the 90s where I just dropped out of the scene
so you had a kid.
completely because I had my son
Yeah.
in 93. And so there were a lot of years there where I wasn't going to see live music. And I was seeing everything via MTV, you know,
Yeah.
the Nirvana Soundgarden era.
The Soundgarden. Yeah.
Kind of saved my life, to be honest with you, because I was ready for some new music and the stuff, Alice in Chains. Yeah.
Do you still? I find that music. I liked a lot of it when it was happening. I didn't like a lot of it when it was happening. At that time, I had this band, Mr. Rocket Baby, that was just like trying to be like a '70s pop
Oh,
band,
yeah, that's cool.
as
Yeah.
opposed to what was happening, which I thought was a bummer, and everyone was not having a good time.
Yeah.
Like I was one of those guys where like, what? Why is everyone so bummed out about being a rock star? That's like the coolest thing you can be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why is it so
Yeah.
offensive to you for people to like you so much? There was a
Yeah,
vibe
I
of
guess-
that then that was like
Oh, absolutely.
people didn't dress cool. People like wore shorts on stage.
Right.
Like that's what you're
the whole
doing.
grunge thing.
Yeah, like what's going on here, guys?
I had a friend who was actually really down on Kurt Cobain because she's like, he's attractive. Why does he dress like that?
Right,
And
right.
I kind of was like, I have a theory about all that, but anyway, I think there was kind of an ominous vibe to all of that.
Yeah.
And I really connected with it at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it really, it was good medicine for
Well,
me.
for
I was into it.
For real, that was really the first voices of our generation. You know?
Yeah, I guess it's true.
I mean, Hall
yeah.
& Oates weren't our people telling our story.
No.
These were all latchkey kids whose parents were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like grew up in that 70s where people were smoking weed in junior high and there was weird kids and you were, you know,
Yeah.
kind of ousted from areas because you weren't like a rich kid or like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Clicks, yeah.
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 Yeah, I definitely felt like there was a lot of shit in the 80s that was just it was polished and
Yeah.
wasn't saying jack shit.
Yeah.
You know, it was just empty pop.
You know
and some
what's-
of it was good empty pop, but
Oh, yeah.
it just wasn't doing anything for me. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. There's always empty pop going on. You know what's funny about the 80s? I had this talk with this amazing producer and mix engineer named Tim Palmer, who did everything from like Pearl Jam 10. He did Ozzy. He did those solo Robert Plant records in the 80s and stuff.
Oh, I love those.
He did Kaja Gugu. He did Love, I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight and all that shit. And I was talking to that
yeah.
guy about it. And I was like, what is it about the 80s where like no one, it doesn't sound like there's no timeless. I mean, there's a few bands that, you know,
Yeah.
REM and stuff like that, bands that
Yeah.
sounded organic. But there was this
Right.
lack of organic stuff and nobody was trying to make records that were timeless in any way. And he was like, no, there was this invention, like a very rapid technological advances, you know,
But I think
like the
money-
Moog to the DX7. And then all of a sudden everyone had all of these, they didn't need a reverb chamber. They had any
Right.
size of reverb digitally, and people at that time shifted from trying to make timeless music to trying to make music that sounded like it was being made like very 80s. We're in the 80s, baby.
Yeah.
You know.
I definitely think MTV had a lot to do.
Sure.
Because I think, image came into everything
Yeah.
suddenly. And I also think that making money, that's what the 80s were all about. And so I think labels were looking for mass appeal as opposed to the Neil Young's, the kind of...
Right, especially coming out of the 70s where it was kind of like, the film industry was even like that. Like all of a sudden the directors had the last say on everything. The studio heads didn't tell them shit anymore, and people were kind of let to be as creative as they wanted to be without interruption or question.
Right. And then you had like the blockbuster movies and all that kind of crap come in too, and all it was about was getting a lot of people in the theaters and making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And I really think that the grunge movement or whatever is a response to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
The
punk was to disco.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or overblown rock like Yes.
Yeah, I've been to a few Yes concerts because Dave is a big Yes guy.
Oh, really? I just found out the other day that, oh, God, what's that director guy's name? He's really famous, and I love his work, but he directed...
Scorsese?
No. No, it's a younger guy. He did it in his early days. He did the concert film for 90210. Not 90210. What's the Yes one?
I know what you're talking about.
Whatever, some number thing they had.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm really not into Yes.
No, me neither.
They've got a couple of songs I think are brilliant, but other than that, enough is enough. But yeah, I've taken a few for the team. Let me put it that way.
That's good. Is there anything new you're listening to now that is getting you? Anything that's come out in the last couple years? Anything you might have picked up at Folk Alliance?
Well, making that playlist of local artists, I mentioned Matt Harlan earlier. I really, the more I listen to Matt Harlan stuff, the more I'm blown away by his lyrical content.
I'm going to listen to him.
Yeah, Best Beast is his latest. I don't think I'm really listening to much new stuff. I'm kind of always in the Radiohead, Elliott Smith, Beck.
You want to see something
kinda
cool? I got to wrap this up. I love Beck too. Hang on a second.
Yeah. Did you meet Elliott Smith?
No, I didn't. But my tour manager worked his show and took Elliott's set list from in front of Elliott after the show and gave it to me. So there's this tennis shoe print. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my God.
But that's Elliott's shoe print.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What a loss.
Yeah. What a loss.
What a loss. I will say one thing that might cheer you up
What?
about Elliott Smith. So I was in San
That's
Diego.
an oxymoron.
Well, that's the funny part of this.
Here's
right?
what's going to cheer you up about Elliott Smith.
Exactly, but it will. I was in San Diego like 10 or 15 years ago, I can't remember, and driving down the street, and somebody had spray painted Elliott Smith laughed at fart jokes on the side of a building. And it really made me happy.
I bet he did.
Have you ever watched any of the footage with he and John Bryan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy that signed my band to Lars Ulrich's label was the drummer for John at the Largo shows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That footage is
wow.
from when they tried to put Largo as VH1 gave John a show
Yeah.
because that Largo thing was such a big deal. And they
Yeah.
tried to recreate Largo and the vibe of Largo in a television studio that they built. My friend
just
Dan,
didn't
like when that
happen.
happened, I remember him going like, dude, I just went to this thing and it was so sad. And apparently, like John was like, this isn't what I do. This is weird.
I saw
Yeah.
the one with Elliot.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. I don't think it ever
yeah.
aired. I think that's
It
like
did
a
have
bootleg.
a very, very weird vibe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was still incredibly entertaining, though. I could watch that all day.
Did you ever go to those? Largo shows at all? Those Friday nights?
That's something I want to do before, yeah. It's on my, I hate the word bucket list or that phrase, but it's something I definitely want to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's still doing. Like the first one I went to was 23 years ago, and it was already a big deal. Like I went for the first time in 1997, and it was a line out the door. And I remember Emmylou Harris and Daniel Lanois were at the table next to us.
Wow!
And like that night, Difford and Tilbrook from Squeeze got up and played with them, and Elliot did a song with them, and Benmont Tench played a bunch with them. It was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream.
It's a dream.
And he is one of the most incredible songwriters.
Elliot?
I mean, that,
or John?
John
Bryan? Oh, yeah.
John Bryan.
Amazing.
He and Amy Mann. I always feel like the Mastersons remind me of John Bryan and Amy Mann.
Oh, yeah.
With a Texas vibe. They come up.
This is something I keep in my studio. I don't know if you can see it. Amy Mann and I sang a song together on a record that I did, and that's us hanging out.
She's awesome.
She is awesome and a cool person too.
Good, that's good to know.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, I've really enjoyed talking to you, Trish.
Me too.
This is great.
Thank you so much for asking me to do this. I appreciate it.
Your record is fantastic. I urge anyone to go out there and check out both of them, Ain't Your Angel and The Margins, but The Margins is the latest one. If you live in Houston or are going to Houston at some point when people go to places again to gather without the fear of death and spreading disease and pandemic to everyone, I suggest going to see Trish Cramblet. You do stuff at the Last Concert Cafe?
I've had a show there. I do just kind of all
Top?
over. Big Top, Continental Club,
Love Continental Club.
Shady Acres Saloon, Dan Electro's.
Dan Electro's.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. Old school Dan Electro's.
Oh, big time, yeah.
When in that early 90s, late 80s scene, I remember I would go to Dan Electro's and like bum on it because I was like, this is just old people. And they were probably like in their 30s or something, but I was like, this is just old people. I'm not going to play. I remember one time there was hey, you guys, our manager was trying to get us to play there, and I was like, I don't want to play for those old people.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to go to Dan Electro's. What am I, old? But,
I do remember. I remember that intention there. Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, it's been great talking to you. People can find you at trishcrambletmusic.com. I'm really, some point maybe we can write a song together when people get together. And
that'd be awesome.
And you got to come up to Austin and do some shows. Whatever I can do to help you to do that, I'd be more than happy to.
I would love to play in Austin. I love Austin. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Trish.
Thanks, Johnny. I really appreciate it.
She went looking for something or someone.
Trish Cramblet, great conversation, great songwriter, cool lady. All right, check out her latest album, The Margins, available wherever it is you stream and download your jams. And, of course, you can always go to trishcrambletmusic.com to find more stuff out about her. Great conversation, great songwriter. Looking forward to hearing more from her, right? We need to get her up to Austin so we can at least go see her play some. All right, gang, don't forget that you can like our Facebook page. You'll see a photo of me and Trish talking on the computer. That's how we're doing it nowadays in the time of quarantine and isolation. Reaching out to people and looking at their faces on my computer and chatting with them is the best way I can bring you this show. Don't forget, new show every Tuesday and every Friday. You can find it wherever it is you stream or download podcasts, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, whatever. Wherever you go, man. Tune in, Overcast. Wherever. You'll find new podcasts, new show every Tuesday and every Friday. Let's hear some more music from Trish Cramblet. Great songwriter. Check out her album, The Margins. All right, stay safe out there, you guys.